A question that I get often from buyers and sellers is, now that I'm in a contract of sale for a property, on what grounds can I get out of the contract of sale? There are very few circumstances and contingencies that will allow somebody to get out of a contract of sale without at least the buyer losing their contract deposit, or at least part of their contract deposit. One of the most common buyer protections in a contract of sale is something known as a financing contingency. And what that means is that if a buyer is financing and they have agreed with the seller to this contingency, then for whatever reason, as long as it's not bad faith or fraud, if the buyer does not get their financing, then they can cancel the contract and get their contract deposit back. So that's a protection that's afforded to the buyer, and it's very common for first-time buyers or conservative buyers to want to have that financing contingency. These days, most things are appraising. So an appraisal is an issue too. If it doesn't appraise, then you're not getting your full loan and you've got to come up with the extra money, which is a completely separate topic. But these days, with the market being as strong as it's been for the last decade or so, most things are appraising. It's very rare to see something that doesn't appraise, provided that, the buyer has been pre-qualified and gone through the hoops of all that with the bank, chances are they're going to get their loan. And it behooves the seller to not enter into a contract of sale with a buyer that hasn't been pre-approved and hasn't been properly vetted, at least financially, in order for to be ensured that they're going to get their loan. This is the role of the broker. A good seller's agent is going to vet any prospective buyers and make sure that they are financially qualified to get their loan, even if there isn't a financing contingency, because what that means is that they can still get out of the deal, they just may lose their deposit, and then the seller is left remarketing the property, and the market could have shifted during that time period. A good agent is going to vet buyers for the seller and ensure that whoever they're entering into a contract with is able to secure their loan and close. Another contingency that always protects the buyer, it is usually never waived, is the board approval contingency. So what that means is that in New York City, we have a lot of co-ops, and co-ops have the right to reject or accept a buyer. If for any reason a board rejects a buyer, they can cancel the contract and automatically get their full deposit back, and the contract is null and void. That is never waived by a buyer. I've never seen a buyer waive that contingency, whereas with the financing contingency, some buyers feel incredibly confident that they're going to get their loan, and they may want to be competitive with a cash bidder, so they go ahead and waive that contingency, but nobody waives the board approval contingency. So if you're in contract for a cooperative and you get a board turned down, which is rare, but it does happen, you as a buyer can cancel the contract, get your deposit back, and the contract is null and void.